but it just started literally driving aimlessly. I wanted to end my life. How can I do this and not hurt my boys more? If they see me shoot myself or something, they'll live with that for the rest of their life. But if I could get drunk enough and drive off a cliff, that's an accident. When I was real little, up until about 5 or 6 years old, I was a daddy's boy. I felt secure, I felt protected. I felt empowered and strong around him. But as time went on, things really got different.
Steve Cunningham's father was an alcoholic. Over time, he became both physically and verbally abusive.
He had developed this level of anger that he would fly off at the handle all of a sudden. He didn't want to play with us anymore. He didn't want to have us in his life too much anymore. And you could really tell that all of a sudden there was this distance between us that was real confusing to me, because there was he was my hero, and now I'm becoming very quickly not part of his life, and I still don't know why. That was a time when all of a sudden the love that I wanted so much from my dad now started to turn to resentment, started to turn to anger. It had gotten so bad that I couldn't wait for him to die. I couldn't wait for him. This was my own father, and I wanted the pain to be over so bad, because I never knew what it was going to be like when I came home, ever.
Listen, I got the 4 boys. Don't talk to me.
And there was always this constant fear. So fear became an element of my life. When my dad finally died, I was a senior in high school. I was 17 years old, and it was like this sense of relief. The pain is now gone. One day, because I was so crazy and being very irresponsible, my mother said to me one day, she goes, "Steve, you're going to grow up to be just like your dad." And I got right back in her face and I says, "I'm never, ever going to be anything like my dad."
But as Steve grew into adulthood, married, and had 4 sons of his own, he became just like the man he vowed he'd never become, his dad.
I started planning my work days, my evenings around when I could get alcohol in me. It made me feel comfortable. A lot of the pain and the anxiety and the fear that I had developed in me over the years as a young child went away, and so it served as a tool for me.
But it was a tool that almost destroyed him. He started missing work, his family life was in shambles, and his sons, who were his pride and joy, he often neglected.
I knew I'd made such a mess out of my life, and just about everything that I could have was gone. My career was gone. My family was gone. My boys didn't want me. Nobody wanted me anymore. And I felt like there was no reason to be on earth.
One night, Steve got into his car and just drove.
And at that point, I wanted to end my life. How can I do this and not hurt my boys more? I had that thought in mind. If they see me shoot myself or something, they'll live with that for the rest of their life. But if I could get drunk enough and drive off a cliff, that's an accident. And that wouldn't be so bad. And so I was up for that.
For 8 straight days and nights, Steve did nothing but drive and drink. That is until a police car pulled up behind Steve's car and began to follow him.
At that moment, that's when it happened. And a most amazing experience of my life. It changed everything for me. As I'm driving, there was this voice that was so loud in my head and so clear and so definite. And it said, I just hear this booming voice, and it said, "Steve, it is not time for you to go. I have get sober. I have work for you to do." It was so, I couldn't believe it. I just knew that I had heard from God. And I knew that there was purpose for me in life. That very minute, I had no idea what it was, but I knew I needed to live. And I thought, that's fine. You know what? I will get sober in jail. I'll start my life today behind bars in jail. And just at that moment, the highway patrolman moves to the other lane and goes around me and takes off. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It was in that miraculous encounter with God that Steve was instantly delivered from alcohol.
After God had spoken to me on Highway 5 is when I knew that my life was in His hands, that He had a purpose and a plan for me. And so there was that sense of, now it's time to build a relationship with Him.
Steve took steps to put his life back together again, from scratch. He began by attending church regularly. He studied the Bible and even joined Alcoholics Anonymous.
there is this walk that I have every single day with Jesus now. And there is a sense of, continue to dwell in me. And I know that you have a plan for me. Show me what you want me to do.
Steve has been sober for over 5 years now, and in the process of rebuilding his life, he's reconnected with his family. He's also chosen to forgive his father from those childhood hurts, just as his heavenly Father has forgiven him.
To think that there is somebody that loves me with all of my faults, all of my character defects, all my shortcomings, but yet made me wonderfully because I have certain talents that he blessed me with as well. And so I'm just this guy that is learning, after a long time, this middle-aged man, to truly love myself for the first time. And it's because of what God is doing in my life.